Welcome back to Centrelink Insider. It is late 2025, and let's be honest, the rental market across Australia isn't just tough, it is suffocating. We are seeing average weekly rents in capital cities smashing through historical records. But here is the critical question I need to ask you right now. If your weekly rent is over $200, do you realize you might be voluntarily walking away from nearly $4,000 a year in tax-free cash? This isn't a scam, this is rent assistance, the invisible lifeline that thousands of renters, especially those in share houses, completely overlook. I am seeing a dangerous trend where students, young professionals, and even older renters assume that because they are in a shared arrangement, or their name isn't the primary one on the lease, they get nothing. This is a costly mistake. If you are paying rent, you have rights. Today, we are not just talking about policy, we are going to claw that money back from the system and put it into your pocket where it belongs. We are going to navigate the 2026 rules, smash the myths about shared housing, and ensure you aren't leaving your hard-earned survival money on the table. So, can you claim rent assistance if you are just renting a room in a shared house without a formal real estate contract? The short answer is yes. However, and this is a massive however that catches people out, the system is designed to filter you out if you don't present your case correctly. Services Australia does not automatically grant this. It is an opt-in layer of the welfare system. Many of you believe that if you receive a Centrelink payment, the rent money is automatic. It is not. The core proposition here is simple. If you pay for the roof over your head, you are eligible. But the binary trap is in the proof. A handwritten note from a mate isn't enough, but a full real estate lease isn't strictly necessary either. You exist in the grey area, and that is exactly where we need to build your fortress of evidence. If you don't understand the difference between a lodger and a tenant in the eyes of the government, you are failing the first test. Let's talk about the threshold of neglect. This is a hidden mechanism in the Centrelink algorithm that I call the implicit decay. Here is how it works when you first move into a place or when your rent hikes up, as it inevitably has in 2026. There is a short window where the system is tolerant. But if you do not update your accommodation details on myGov within 14 days of a rent increase, that money is gone. It does not backdate indefinitely. I have seen clients who have been paying an extra $50 a week for 6 months, thinking they can claim the difference later at tax time. You cannot. Rent assistance is calculated fortnightly. If the system thinks you are still paying 2024 prices, you are being paid 2024 rates. The decay is silent. You don't get a notification saying you are underpaid. You just get less money than you are legally entitled to, week after week. The burden of proof is entirely on you to trigger the update. Do not let the system's silence lull you into a false sense of financial security. Now, we need to get into the deep mechanics of the historical tenure and proportionality principle. This is the part that scares people, but I am going to simplify it. How much do you actually get? Services Australia uses a formula that involves a minimum rent threshold. Basically, for every dollar of rent you pay SUDI above a certain amount, the government chips in 75 cents up to a maximum limit. In late 2025, these thresholds have shifted due to indexation. Here is the crucial distinction, the single rate versus the sharer's rate. If you live alone, the maximum you can get is significantly higher. If you share a kitchen or bathroom with others, you are typically capped at the sharer's rate, which is roughly 2/3 of the single rate. However, do not click away, because here is the nuance. If you are a single parent, or if you have a disability, or if you are in a boarding house where you have specific contractual rights to your room, you might still fight for the higher rate. The system calculates your historical entitlement based on the continuous nature of your lease. If you have been in the property for years, but only just started sharing to save money, you must declare this change immediately. Conversely, if your housemate moves out and you are suddenly covering the whole lease alone, you effectively transition from the sharer's rate to the single rate overnight. That could be a difference of over $36 a fortnight, instantly. You need to know these numbers. This leads us to the intent-based status determination. This is where most share house arrangements fall apart. Centrelink doesn't just look at where you sleep, they look at how you live. They distinguish between rent and board and lodging. This is vital. Rent means you pay for the room and handle your own food and bills. Board means meals are provided. Why does this matter? Because if you tick board and lodging on your form, Centrelink assumes only a portion of your payment is for accommodation and the rest is for food. Since they only subsidize the accommodation part, your rent assistance payment will be slashed, sometimes by huge amounts. Many international students and young workers mistakenly tick board because they share a communal meal once a week. Do not do this unless it is a formal arrangement. You must define your intent. You are a tenant or a lodger paying for space. Your domestic arrangements, who buys the milk, who cleans the floor, are irrelevant to the financial contract unless meals are contractually provided. Be very careful with the boxes you tick. We must also address the cross-border surveillance aspect. In 2026, data matching is more powerful than ever. Some tenants think, I'll just ask my landlord to sign a paper saying I pay $400, even if I pay $300, so I get more aid. Stop. The Australian Taxation Office, ATO and Services Australia share data. Your landlord declares rental income on their tax return. If there is a discrepancy between what you claim you pay and what they claim they earn, a red flag goes up. Furthermore, if you are subletting from a head tenant who isn't declaring that income, you are walking into a minefield. You need a legitimate paper trail. The rent certificate form Su Arshasen is a government document. Falsifying it is fraud. But, more importantly, if your landlord refuses to sign it because they are dodging tax, you are the one who suffers. You need to push for a formal written agreement or a signed rent certificate. Do not be an accomplice to their tax evasion at the cost of your own survival benefits. Let's look at the operational logistics and economic risk. Rent assistance is not a standalone payment. You cannot just apply for it by itself. It is a supplementary payment attached to a primary payment like job seeker, youth allowance, austerity, or family tax benefit. This creates a dependency risk. If your income from work goes slightly over the limit and cuts off your primary payment, even by $1 your rent assistance cuts off instantly. It is an all-or-nothing game. In the volatile economy of 2026, where casual shifts fluctuate, you need to be aware of this cliff. I advise my clients to carefully manage their reported income. Sometimes earning an extra $10 in a shift isn't worth it if it knocks you off the payment threshold and costs you $150 in lost rent assistance and benefits. You have to do the math on your effective marginal tax rate. What about the reverse process latency? This is the nightmare scenario. Let's say you move back in with your parents for a month between leases. You must tell Centrelink. If you continue to receive rent assistance while living rent-free, you are accruing a debt. The system will eventually catch up, usually 6 months later, and they will garnish your future wages or payments. The recovery process is automated and ruthless. Reapplying after a break is not instant. It can take weeks to process a new rent certificate. During that gap, you are paying full rent with no help. Consider the collateral erosion of ancillary benefits. Rent assistance is often the gateway key to other hidden supports. For many, qualifying for the maximum rate of rent assistance is a trigger for receiving the full rate of the energy supplement or maintaining a healthcare card. If you fail to verify your rent and lose this payment, you might find your prescription medicine costs doubling or your utility rebates vanishing. It is a domino effect. The $80 or $90 a fortnight in rent aid is significant, but the total package value including concessions could be worth double that. When you are fighting for your rent status, you are fighting for your entire welfare ecosystem. So, what about continuous compliance? You cannot just set it and forget it. Services Australia performs random rent reviews. They will send you a letter or a myGov inbox message asking for an updated rent certificate or lease agreement. You usually have 14 days to respond. If you ignore this because you think nothing has changed, your payment stops. It is a survival verification. They want to know you still live there. I recommend keeping a digital copy of your lease and your latest rent receipts on your phone at all times. If you pay cash to a head tenant, get a receipt book. Every single time. Without a paper trail, in the eyes of the government, you are homeless or living rent-free. Here is your defensive action plan. Do not wait for the system to save you. Log in to myGov right now. Check your accommodation details. Does the rent figure match exactly what leaves your bank account today? If it is lower on the screen, update it. If you are in a share house, download the rent certificate form. Fill out your section and put it in front of your landlord or real estate agent today. Be polite but firm. I need this to get my housing support. Most agents are used to it. If you are a subtenant, get the head tenant to sign it. They are your landlord in this context. Do not let embarrassment or laziness cost you $4,000 this year. This is your money. Claim it. And please share this video with your housemates. If you are struggling, they probably are too. Help them navigate the maze. Subscribe for more insider updates and let's survive 2026 together.